Wait, oh, we gotta wait for one more. Maybe not.
Huh?
Luke's here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Well,
Sweet.
don't we have your name, Abby?
Huh?
Emily?
Oh, we have to wait for Emily.
Oh,
No,
I'm
Emily's
alright.
on.
Amazon.
There we are. Alrighty. I'm fine, we're good.
All right.
Okay.
Well, this is a pretty crazy podcast. Um, Goes from selling t-shirts illegally to slashing tires of competitors,
Mhm.
all this crazy stuff.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of the more interesting podcasts we've talked about so far, I think, that we're gonna talk about.
Yeah.
Um,
Boston sports.
start
Hateful city. Well, not hateful, but
off-
playfully hateful. It's good.
yeah. I guess we can start from the product development. Um, it's really smart what they did. Really simple. They just didn't overthink it at all. Just took a basic chant, put it on a t-shirt, made thousands a day,
Yeah.
which is crazy.
Well, I'd like to contrast this to the Frontline documentary you watched, because in the Frontline documentary song, they tried to become a part of culture, whereas these people just adopted a part of culture and made a company around it. Well, a company, and it was way more successful. A bunch of college students making a lot of money, so it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was definitely kind of insane, like how like successful they were. Um, but it like I also kind of want to say it shows like how much like if in all reality, if you see an opportunity to make a lot of money and like be successful about it, it shows that like even if you just do something for yourself once, it could turn into a really big opportunity.
It was
Mhm.
kind of like what they were saying in that one, I think it was like our week 2 podcast where they were saying how some brands can turn into like a cult in a way. Okay.
Yeah. The I'm just gonna tie it back to the reading we had to do this week. Well, a little bit, because I don't. It wasn't necessarily the main point of the podcast, but um, their width was almost non-existent. All they did was make T-shirts, and then their depth was decent of their products. So a couple different styles of T-shirts, but they were all T-shirts. Um, so I feel, uh, especially I don't know, it was bootleg. It wasn't really a company, so I don't want to call it a business. More, I'd call it a scheme, and it was a
Yeah,
really,
it's
really good scheme.
I feel like it's hard to call this like serious marketing because it's like kind of just like a ridiculous stroke of luck. Like you've got a bunch of people like selling their own shirts of like Montana State like outside of their football games as well. Like I don't know if you guys have ever seen anybody like wearing those Montana like fucking state shirts. But they were pretty popular and like some kid made a couple hundred of them and sold them all for like 20 bucks. Like he wasn't legally allowed to like use Montana State's like likeness or image or anything like that to make those shirts, but because of like, his like just like kind of smart, quick marketing and like everybody kind of being like, oh, like that's just something funny I could buy. Like experience destruction steps except for those guys who made the Yankee suck shirts, like really tried to capitalize on it and use like their band to like help do that as well. And they also like relating it back to the book, they skipped the phases of like product product development and like testing, and they just kind of went for it. Like that, this wasn't like a very like legitimate, very like marketing focused, I guess, company or like happening.
One thing that did really well though is if you could consider it their growth stage, they took out all competitors.
They
Either
did.
yeah, they either destroyed their products or beat them up, or well, they did a lot, which is I don't know. It's a really cool story to hear about because it's something I could relate to. I think all of us could relate to doing stuff. Well, maybe not doing stuff like that, but
Yeah, I don't know about the slashing tires and beating people
yeah.
up.
I don't know, just not wanting something that easy, but it's like it's a cool opportunity to go hang out with your friends and make some money.
Oh yeah.
Indeed.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And it's about baseball. Who doesn't like baseball?
Mm.
Well, maybe not, but I don't know.
There's interesting stuff like this, like kind of all the time that kind of just pops up, and it can't really be like, oh, like this was like a marketing genius or like these people like, figured out the secret. Like you've got like, I don't know if you guys know anything about like the guy who made Palantir and like who like kind of got really into like big defense contracting or anything like that, but he started out with like making VR headsets by basically like just like taking cardboard boxes in his house and like setting it up to where it could like hold your phone right in front of your eyes. And like he, not because of any genius marketing stroke or anything like that, just because of like kind of pure luck and like whatever he was doing catching on at the time, made a shitload of money off of that. And that's where like the Oculus headset and like the Oculus company started, which is like pretty interesting. And you can't exactly say that that's like marketing genius or like product development and testing or anything like that. It's just certain people like, have kind of the luck to make something and then it just really catches on.
Yeah.
Well, and
Well,
they
not
like
only, go ahead.
sometimes I feel like that's a lot about marketing. Like you can do all the research you can and all of that. And it definitely helps, but a lot of like companies kind of do rely on luck. Like they rely on certain people seeing it and then sharing it with the people that like also would like it. So I feel like not obviously not all of it, but some of it is dependent on just dumb luck. Um, and
Yeah.
I feel like that's just kind of how companies go. I mean, Nike, like, yeah, they advertised and they did this and they did that. But like it just happened that they got super popular and they are a very popular store now.
Yeah. One, uh, have you guys
Yeah,
ever seen an ad for ChatGPT?
Seen what?
Oh
An ad for ChatGPT.
No.
no.
All right. I'm just curious. It's because I have not seen one either, but it's the most downloaded thing in history by far.
Mhm.
Like it
And
is
that was
absurd
just
the growth of that. So they
basically
made an
off
ad
of word
with,
of mouth.
yeah. Um, they just developed such a good product that it's able to sell itself. Whereas I guess the Yankees suck t-shirt guys, they had to utilize a lot of like high pressure sales tactics. And I'm not sure if you guys have been in touristy areas, but sometimes when you're around them, they'll just like give you a product. They'll hand you their CD or hand you their bracelet or hand you their t-shirt. They'll let you walk like a block and then they'll just demand money. And at some point in the podcast, one of the guys was like that. And one of the papers I was reading for this are just the differences between aggressive and directive sales pressures. Most of the time in aggressive sales pressures, the person receiving the product feels gypped or scammed. And in directive sales, they feel like they actually fit a need, which I think it's important to point out that in order for that t-shirt business or the t-shirt scheme to be successful, they required very, very high pressure sales. So it requires a special kind of person. And they even like had a uniform to play the part of a douchebag trying to get people to buy it.
I think like even though they weren't like following, I guess, the basic marketing strategies, they were kind of following a lot of the principles of marketing without like technically it. Like, I mean, they're like influencing. They had people wearing the shirts. Like the brand loyalty, they had like, I don't know, everyone was just loyal to like the team. And then like just they were marketing on emotion and stuff like that. So like I know they didn't do it like I guess like the proper strategy, but they still had like some principles of marketing in their thing.
It seems that like a lot of the concepts in the book for like product development and like marketing research just kind of like unknowingly went into the Yankees Suck project. Like it's like a lot of the things that they had going on were something or were things that like they didn't really necessarily like need to set up. They just kind of had going for them like
Mhm.
as a general like in the movement because you had like the hardcore like rock bands like playing outside like the Fenway Park and like all that kind of stuff and like inviting in kind of that like like more like rock band kind of crowd. So like you're drawing in like a certain like market demographic or market segment and you're kind of mixing the two with like the baseball kids and then the kids who are there for like the punk rock bands and they're both kind of rebellious in nature. So capitalizing off of like, just like some vulgar shirt where you're kind of able to push it to all these people who are like at a baseball game and, most likely a little bit more suggestible than usual.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
I found it, yeah, I mean, the, they were able to capture a large market. Then after 9/11, they continued. They didn't just do Yankee shirts. One of the guys made a shirt that said, was it like "fuck Osama bin Laden" or I forgot what it
Yeah.
said. What was it? And they misspelled his name, and he's like, "No, it's supposed to be a jab at him." I ah, I found that pretty funny. Maybe a little. No, honestly, I'm a fan of comedy. Keep it up. But yeah, they found it like I don't know, the market shifted and they changed their shirt. Uh, People demanded
And it's
something
not
else.
necessarily something that like has to follow like a specific brand identity either, because it's kind of just like a vulgar statement that they're making about like a
Yeah.
baseball team. Like it's not like they have to like really stick to that to
Well,
like make their marketing go further.
the identity is within the baseball team, and then the vulgarity is
Mhm.
within the fans' culture of the baseball team. So the fans have a culture of hating New
Mhm.
York. um, Not anymore, apparently, but
Indeed.
um, like I mean, even here we have a hatred of the Grizz. Eat shit, and if you were to slap that on a T-shirt, which people have done, you sell it, make some money. But um, I did do a little reading about like counterfeits and like bootleg stuff, and it hold on, I gotta find. I think it was like $5 billion worldwide are lost due to counterfeit products, whether all the
Mhm.
way from the pharmaceutical industry to the airline industry to clothing.
Mhm.
Um, and it's a loss of 175,000 American jobs, which,
Wow.
yeah, it's a lot. But in this specific instance, I don't. I mean, they stole salespeople from the inside of the stadium selling other goods. And those kiosks and businesses definitely hurt from losing good employees. But the employee needs to think about their best interest. So I don't know. I gotta find this, make sure I'm good.
So bring up some mistakes they made.
Oh,
I think since they like didn't have any like legal protection or anything like that, there could have been it could have been far more disastrous. Like the baseball team could have sued them for using their likeness on a shirt. They didn't have a license to sell any of these things. They didn't. It was just like it was very, very unofficial. Like it was just a bunch of dudes making T-shirts and selling them outside of baseball games.
Yeah, it was really, really under the table. Um, but even making
Yeah,
like 1,500 a night just doing it illegally is insane.
indeed. And then they also didn't ever file a, or they didn't file a trademark for like a long. So not doing that early was like kind of risky because it let other people kind of like make the same shirt and like make some money off of like that kind of brand image while not being a brand. However, like it kind of worked in their favor because it like organically spreads just like the message of like the Yankees by other people kind of like selling similar shirts. So that was like kind of an asset, but also a mistake they could have made.
They also didn't keep it like cash very safely. They just like had a bunch of money in their backpacks and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
know how much you're making or if you're losing money.
yeah, like didn't one of the guys have like 20,000 in cash at some point and just sit in
Yeah.
his room?
yeah.
That is hilarious.
And they didn't declare any of it except for what their accountant told them to declare.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't. mm, Yeah. Which good for them. They got to keep all their money.
Mm,
But even, how do you guys feel about under the table pay? Like just getting paid cash to do gigs, or
I mean, that I had under the table pay like before I could even get a job like legally. I
yeah.
was doing like yard work for neighbors or mowing neighbors' lawns. They just slipped me some cash. I thought that was the best thing ever.
Mhm.
No, it's not a paycheck, just straight to the pocket.
I
Straight
don't
pocket.
think people who are under the age of 18 should be paying taxes. So I think that like being paid under the table is quite awesome because it's taxation without representation. Like if you're paying taxes as a child, it's like
But you're
that's
also,
fucked.
I'd like to be a little devil's advocate here, but you're also using or utilizing public services as a child. You're going to the parks that are maintained by taxes. You're driving on
Mm,
16 to 17 and 364 days without representation. Um, I honestly kind of agree with you. Maybe 16, 17, 15, or 14, 15, 16, 17 year olds shouldn't get taxed, especially to the same extent as people who are represented. But they
well,
do.
it's not like our tax budget actually goes there. Like our taxes are being used for like stupid social welfare programs and like other BS tasks that we've got to do rather than like, like upkeeping the roads. Like when was the last time you saw like government upkeep on like, the roads like here in Montana, like in like, your local area, like, where like, you need like potholes fixed and stuff like that. Like the only government's like I guess like the roads being developed and stuff like that, but like that's already been paid off by like, people who are represented in like the voting world. I don't
Yeah.
I don't think kids should be beholden to that. I also just like don't really love the idea of taxes. Like the way that we do them now is like pretty shitty because like in specific states like people who are poor will pay more taxes depending on like like what kind of rules the state has like in Montana your income tax goes down as your income goes up, which is a little funky. And yeah, it's just I think taxes are interesting. I don't really agree with them morally.
Well, the wildest part, well, not really the wildest part, but I think some new updates are with online tech jobs because you'll pay the taxes of wherever, honestly, wherever you want. you could be located wherever you please and work for companies that pay you hundreds of thousands where the median income is 20 and live like a king. And you pay the taxes of, honestly, like literally wherever you want. It's kind of crazy. Maybe not wherever you want, but wherever you can get a PO box and prove that you live there for 6 months out of the year. And like it, I think taxes need to follow suit with company or businesses growth and the way wages are moving, and they have not.
I just personally think that like the government is essentially like a large business and it kind of should be treating itself as such. Like instead of being a leech and like sucking off of like what the people produce, I think the government should produce itself and like provide like safer resources and stuff like that that can be purchased by the people. Like instead of taxing everybody taking their money, why don't we legalize some of the ridiculous drugs that they have illegalized and like, the government could sell them and they could do a good job and like make sure they're safe and stuff like that. And we wouldn't have people dying from fent overdoses all the time. And they could make a little bit of money off the drug addicts. So it's like win-win for everybody. The
Yeah,
druggies get their drugs, the government gets their money, we get left alone. Everybody has a great time.
that's a wild solution, but give it to them. Like, yeah, I mean, if government was treated more like a business, it's kind of interesting. But I don't know.
Indeed. Those are just my thoughts. But
That's pretty cool.
um back to the Yankees suck.
Yeah.
Um, I think they very much capitalized on kind of like just like the randomness. Like somebody would probably see somebody with a Yankee suck shirt on and be like, "Oh, like that's kind of interesting. Like where'd you get that? Like what shirt brand or what shirt company is making that?" And they're like, "I don't know. It's just some dudes like outside the park." I think
Yeah.
that was a big help for their virality or their
Well,
influence on their market segment.
yeah.
Mm.
And they even admitted to their product being bad. They said after a couple of,
Because all the colors in the ink was like too thick to like sweat through or anything like that.
yeah, it was, I don't know, which is definitely a misstep, but also who cares? $10
Yeah.
at a Yankee Stadium. You're gonna go watch the Yankees, or you're gonna go watch the Yankees suck. Um, Fine, like to memory.
And the brand
Indeed.
also wasn't like they weren't planning to make it like a Nike thing or something. It was such a just short term, just
Yeah.
like immediate cash thing. So like
But
any
also,
their product or anything really was fine.
it lasted 4 years, which is crazy to think about. Because if you had some dude outside of the MSU stadium trying to sell bootleg T-shirts, he would get arrested in
So fast.
a couple days or a couple games. Because they'd find him, but you could probably get away with it for a game or two. Keep it down low.
Well,
But
and the fact that they were still able to sell them after a year, after the season is done. Because clearly, like, you go, you sell them out for the season, and then you have the winter months off. Like, there's no baseball games. Like, no one's really coming in and out. No one's really going there. And the fact that they were able to restart back up within the beginning of this season and going from and doing it for 4 seasons, was kind of crazy. Was because slow seasons are hard for people and all of it. And obviously they weren't a company and it's not like they were necessarily relying on this income. Um, but it was just like they were still successful after having 4, 5 months off.
yeah, well, I can respect them a lot because they latched onto a huge cultural thing. Or I'm not sure if they created the chant. There's no way they were able to create an entire hatred for the Yankees. It had to have been a large group of fans, the
I
consistent
think
fans that showed up every week.
they said that it was like just something that was shouted throughout games and then someone had come with a
Yeah,
shirt.
Mhm.
Well, and I don't know if they even did it like with the idea to start a company or if they just wanted a shirt that said that and it kind of just spiraled from there where
I
other
think they
Yeah,
just
people
wanted a
wanted it.
shirt.
but something like fidget spinners was a cultural thing for our age group. I don't know, between the ages of sixth and eighth grade, or maybe no, I don't even know. 2017, 2017. Um, Fidget spinners were monstrous, and if anybody made fidget spinners and sold them at their school, they'd make a lot of money. One skateboard ball bearing. It was um, I don't know. I'm hesitant to call it a business, but it clearly made a shitload of money. And
Mhm.
that is the goal of business. And they fulfilled the need of their consumers, the need to spend money at a a Red Sox game. Like I don't know. I don't know where I sit because I find it very interesting. Um, it's pretty cool.
Any more thoughts, anybody?
Was there anything that really surprised you guys going into this podcast or 30 for 30 that you
How
found
well
interesting?
it worked out for them with like basically no forethought, but that's kind of it.
Yeah, kind of going 4 seasons doing that illegally
Mhm.
is
Well,
it's actually insane.
And I think it just being known that it was an illegal business happening and like it still kept going.
they also
Yeah.
technically did have legal protections because they knew the district attorney and the district personally knew like half the police force. So in the case that they did get arrested or something did happen, they just call up the district attorney and be like, I'm selling my t-shirts again.
Yeah.
Like they had people on the inside of the law and they were able to operate outside of it. And that's just happenstance. They happen to know that guy.
Mhm.
So a lot of things fell together and they capitalized on it perfectly. um,
Indeed.
yeah.
All right.
Oh,
We
wait.
good?
We all
Oh,
good?
the way they spent their money really pissed me off. I'm not gonna lie. I hated that. If you're running
Just
into that much money and you were blowing it all on, ah, that was just disappointing.
I mean, they're college kids with that much money. I mean, what do
I'd,
you can
I'd,
expect
I'd
from
blow it
them?
on some dumb
Respect.
shit right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also like you could just retire. You could, if you were making $150,000 at 19, invest that properly, work some odd jobs. You could be done within 10 years. You could be finished working, live on the prairie, pet your dog. I don't know. But
Yeah, it just didn't seem like the type of people want to do that. Just
no, definitely
from
not.
what went down with their
Yeah.
whole crew and everything. But
Yeah.
All right. Are we good?
think so.
Yes.
Okay.